Hello, welcome, I'm Mr. Conscious, and this is how to rank on Google even when Google's broken. So today we're going to be covering the fastest way to get Google traffic to a new or existing website. So if you're in need of Google traffic, you're at the right place. We're going to be talking about why most webmasters waste their time and doing things that hurt their site by publishing the wrong content. And I'm going to tell you what the right content is. And then we're going to be talking about how to power up that content so that Google ranks you and your site grows and everything is merry, get leads, sales, and have a good life. So let's talk about the new step-by-step ranking strategy that I developed after all these Google algorithm updates. Because if you've been living on Learn Rock, you probably know that Google has released a whole bunch of updates that have changed the search landscape, right? So we have to adapt and we have to take and discover new strategies that allow us to rank in spite of those changes. So here it is. If you're an advanced marketer, then this should be useful to you. And if you're brand new, then this should also be useful and help you get along. All right, so let's start. The first thing you need to do is have one single flagship article. Honestly, when you're starting a website, the biggest mistake people make is putting up 10, 20 articles and then hoping for the best and be like, okay, now I'm going to launch it. No. The best way to actually start a website or to start fixing a website, if you haven't done this already, is to start with one single flagship article. And honestly, that's where 99% of people mess up, right? Like right off the start, you want to have a homepage and then one big article on your website. And some people have gotten to 200 articles already and they still don't have their one big article. Let me explain. There are many reasons why you want to start with one article, but the main one is that it's very difficult and almost impossible to produce 3 or 4 epic articles at once. It just doesn't work. So if you want to produce something good, you need to focus on it and you need to produce one really good article. And that article could help power up your entire website. So the other reason, especially if you're starting off a brand new website, is that there's a boost. There's an algorithm boost within the search algorithm called the Small Personal Site Boost. And this rewards tiny sites so they have a chance of ranking when they're small. So it's better to have one really good article and be small than to have hundreds of articles that are average or so. So let's explore. First, the Small Personal Site Boost is a boost from the Google API leak that promotes smaller websites when they don't have the power to compete with larger websites. Now, this was put in there because otherwise people wouldn't rank for their own name. So let's say you have a website with like 4 pages and it's Jenny's Lawyer or something. Then if you typed in her full name, she probably wouldn't even appear on Google. But Google implemented something. So if you have a very, 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 very small website, you still stand a chance of ranking against giant websites. And if you start with a small website, then you take advantage of this boost. So that's why I recommend start with one single really good article, one really good page. Now, the next thing is that this one article will set up your website for success. So having one flagship article, you will usually get start to get Chrome views because people will read it. It'll improve your overall site score because the engagement on a website will be good, and it'll improve your click metrics and visit durations. All these things that one big article will contribute towards. So instead of having a whole bunch of articles, like dozens and dozens of articles when you start a brand new website, you want to start a brand new website with one major one. Now, if you already have a website, right? If you already have hundreds of articles, you could do this anyways. It's not too late and you didn't mess up. It's just that you were doing the old SEO tactic or tactics, or you've been around for a while like I have. And you could do this anyways. It's never too late to add one flagship article. And the beauty of this is one flagship article can influence the entire website. So it could help and contribute towards a recovery by influencing the overall website's metrics, right? So you add one article, thousands of people visit and read that one. And Google says, well, thousands of people have gone to this website and enjoyed it. Therefore, maybe this website is good and we should start ranking it again. So this could also help contribute to recoveries. So if you've been doing it for years and your rankings have crashed, you have 2 options. One, you could keep on going and doing the things you've always been doing by publishing, let's say, average content and relying on Google traffic exclusively to dictate metrics. Or the new approach to SEO is what I'm calling a hybrid style, where you're getting a mix of Google traffic and a mix of traffic from other sources that's focused on metrics, visitors, and topical alignment. So the reason we want to do that, and let me just dive into just a bit, is because Google traffic tends to bounce off really quickly and usually isn't as engaged as other sources of traffic. So if you are getting a friend or people you know from Facebook to visit your website, they're likely going to spend a lot of time, right? But people that don't know you from the, fly on a wall, a hole in a wall, they might come from Google, land on your website, and bounce right back, and then that sends a bad signal. So this is why having a hybrid approach is probably the new way that we should approach Google traffic. And this leads to amazing SEO rankings. You outrank your competitors. They don't know why. This is it, right? So let's continue with the flagship article. Let's say you have an existing website and you want to start renovating it. One of the advantages that you have is you already have existing content that you could start from, so you don't have to start from scratch. Most people hate fixing old content because they're doing it completely wrong. So hear me. I've done this, by the way. Like I'm not trying to like push this on anyone else, but if you have an existing website and you want to recover it, most people will go in and say, okay, we're going to start renovating pages. And they do it as quickly as possible. Well, they'll spend like 10, 15 minutes on updating inaccurate or outdated information. They'll maybe improve the introduction a bit, change a few words here and there. And then once they finish, or once you finish, we basically hit publish and then move on to the next one, right? And unfortunately, nothing happens. So we go take an old article, we fix the info, update the date, publish, next. This is a waste of time, quite frankly. In the best case scenario, then fixing the inaccurate information will lead to people bouncing off a bit less. And then by maybe miracle, it'll eventually do better in the search results. But most of the time it doesn't. So here's the proper way of doing this and the different mentality, right? So the proper way to renovate an article, if you want to recover a website, is to approach it as, I have this base that I'm starting from, and I want to create a new flagship article. I want to create a brand new article that's as good as it possibly can, so that this page will do well. So right now, instead of saying, okay, well, I want to spend the least amount of time on this article, think, okay, well, 80% of the work is already done. You already have a base of content on the article, on the page. You probably have some good information. You probably have some good insights. You just you get to start with this and then transform that into a flagship article. So this is taking it way above and beyond what it used to be into something that is absolutely amazing. And here's the secret sauce. Once you reach that flagship article status, right? Once it's really good and you're proud of it, you're like, wow, I started from this and now this is really good. You could treat it like a brand new article. This becomes a brand new article. So you're not just updating the date for the sake of updating the date. You're updating the date because something like this just didn't exist before, right? And that means that you could share it again on social media. You could post a new press release for it. You could do a new link campaign. You could mail out for it again and share it all over the place. This is your brand new article. And that is how renovation of articles should be treated. Once you renovate it or it should transform your old existing content, treat it as brand new. Go crazy on it. And this allows you to have many flagship articles in a very short period of time because now you're renovating content and you don't have to start from scratch. It takes a very, very long time to create a flagship article when you're starting from scratch. But when you already have an existing base, man, you're like 3/4 of the way there. Just do the last little bit. So this is going to be the secret that allows people to recover from traffic penalties and websites that aren't performing as well. This is the secret, right? So let's move on. Here's just kind of a comparison where the old method, where you have you go in, you fix the info, update the date, do it as quickly as possible, and then you just publish. This is not going to fix it. This has a much better chance of fixing it because here you're getting more visitors, you're getting new links, you're getting better metrics. This is kind of like the new method. All right, now let's move on to what some flagship articles could look like, because I mentioned that and it's kind of a vague term and it encompasses a lot of things. That's why I use that term. It's because depending on your industry, it could be various different things. It could be a calculator. It could be a big table with a whole bunch of figures in it. It could be, well, for instance, in the VR space, when virtual reality was just starting, one of the first virtual reality headsets was called the Samsung Gear VR. And I created a major, like an ultimate guide where I compiled all the tricks that you could possibly use with it, and the little hacks that you could use. And this article was my flagship article. I launched a website with this single article, as I'm showing you here. So I walked the walk, and this article has gotten, was it like hundreds of thousands of views? It powered up the entire website, where we got links, we got tons of visitors, and the entire website was ranking because it is one article. This is what I call a flagship article. And then since then, we've only added like 3 or 4, like a handful more of articles. And that's been the site for years and years and years and years and years. Now, of course, the content is content is getting a little old. I haven't touched this website in years, but it is still ranking. Just because it is one article that I put out one time, maybe like 7-8 years ago, the entire website is still doing well compared to other websites in the same space that have gone down to 0. This one's still like still attracting visitors. All right, yeah. So that's kind of what I mean by a flagship article. Put out one really good piece of content. Here's another example of a really flagship type article where I put out a giant review or an analysis of the March core update. This once again attracted tons of links, tons of thousands of visitors, and continues to be read every single day. People are just they're probably reading it right now as I make this video, and as you're watching this, people are probably on this page consuming it. So this is another example of flagship content where I shared all my test results, my collected data, my theories, everything, and this helps power up an entire website, which is why it's worth doing. So phase 2, once you have a flagship article on a new or existing website, here's where you expand. Because once you go from one, you need to, add more and more and more. And what we do is we add more with topical content. So specifically, what we're talking about is once we burst out of that small personal site size, we might see a little drop, but it's worth it because in the long term, we're going to build up topical relevance, and then eventually we're just going to get even higher than we were before. We're going to take advantage of the second boost that is within the Google algorithm, which is having a topical authority website. So essentially you have, your homepage and your one big flagship article, and then you start putting topical articles underneath, and this will eventually build you up. So what do I mean by topical articles? Well, in its simplest form, it just means staying on topic. So if you have a dog website, you write about dogs, you write dog food, dog breeds, dog training, and so forth. And then when you branch out to something that's related to dogs, such as pets. So essentially, this is staying on topic with your topical authority website. And the beauty of this is that you will get a small boost. Now, if you don't do this and you start writing about a whole bunch of different things, it could actually detract from this website, and you won't perform as well, at least at the beginning, right? When you still have a medium site. So not a small, tiny website, but a medium site. You want to take advantage of all the boosts you can, which will mean staying on topic. So for instance, if here I have everything in home and garden, and then I start adding business stuff, this could actually hurt the entire website because you're going to lose some of that boost. So I highly focus staying on topic. Now, here is basically the API information from the Google leak that talks about measuring a website and how focused it is on a topic and how far the page embeddings deviate from the site embedding. So there's a large portion of the Google algorithm that's dedicated to determining how topically relevant and how this page is to a website. So bottom line, Google promotes sites that are focused on a specific topic. It is not very difficult to do, but a lot of people just forget and start writing about things that are left and right and all that. So how do you figure out what is topically related? One of the easy ways is to look up your main term and create a topical authority map. Things you want to cover, basically a roadmap of articles you're going to want to write about. And one of the ways you could do that, just kind of an easy freebie, is to look at the Wikipedia page for your topic. So here I'm using search engine optimization as an example. And within this page, you're going to get a whole bunch of clues and hints as to what could possibly be topically related. So you could also do Google searches and see what people are writing about within that term. Or you could use keyword tools and the specific tools just for doing this. So let me give you an example of what a topical authority map could look like. So here you have the top branch, internet marketing. Within you have search engine optimization, which is the one we're doing. And within this, we could be writing about on-page optimization, link building, white hat SEO, black hat SEO, organic search traffic, crawling indexing, website traffic, keyword research, Google Analytics, SEO, checklists, and so forth. And then you have a sub-branch, which is local search engine optimization, which is then it goes, you have local stuff and you have more little branches off of this. So all of this is going to be related and topically relevant. So hopefully you could see how this all goes together and how you could build a website and branch out and branch out and branch out and create essentially clusters of content. So moving on, we have number 3, which is going to be, now we've talked about kind of like a bigger structure of your website. Now we will be diving into a document and how to optimize a single web page for results. So in the simplest form, the things that Google looks for when they want to rank a page is going to be the title tag, headlines, images, words, incoming anchor text link, and the outgoing links. Now, there are more things, but this is going to be the 80-20, the really easy stuff to focus on that provide most of the results. And the reason I like to focus on with these is because they will be the major drivers and they are very easy to do. So once you nail this, you're going to be able to essentially optimize a page for rankings relatively quickly, and it's going to become second nature. Now, I have to warn you, it is very easy to start and difficult to master when you want to get the absolute best, because to build relevance, you want to use entities within each component, and you also want to make it natural, but you want to get the right mix of entities where the most important entity is going to be featured at the front. So that's why very easy to start. Where here, title tag, just add entities, headline, add entities, image, just add entities everywhere. Now, to master, let's dive into it. What do I talk about? So, for instance, if we're trying to rank a page for best fishing poles, I'm going to share how I would do the title. So, the best fishing poles for experienced fishermen. Now, the reason we are what's in red essentially is going to be relevant entities. We have fishing poles, which is our main keyword, but you'll see I'm not using the full exact thing. I'm using a partial match of the keywords. It's going to be fishing poles instead of best fishing. Actually, it is best fishing poles. Okay, scratch that. But fishing poles is going to be what I'm featuring. And then I have a related entity called fishermen. Now, one important thing is I want Google and the NLP algorithm to know, or NLP processing to know that fishing pole is the most important entity. So I would not have a sentence that says fishermen go fishing with fishing poles, because then the most important part of the sentence would be fishermen. So that's why this is kind of at the forefront where it says the best fishing poles. And so Google knows we're talking about fishing poles specifically, and experienced fishermen is going to be the secondary most important thing. So it's kind of like important distinction when you're creating titles or when you're optimizing. You want to make sure that the algorithm knows what the most important entity is within that sentence and within your document. So that's kind of a final addition I wanted to put in there. Now, moving on with your H2s, H3s, H4s subheadlines, use related entities. So here, fishing poles for small fish. Once again, images. Within the image file name, I use entities, Troutmaster fishing pole, and within the alt text, I'll use related entities. Within the words on the text, within the words of the text of the essentially of the article, I will have things. So for instance, we spent 2 weeks fishing at the Restigouche River. We determined the ideal fishing pole for anglers, and we're essentially using all these related entities to determine best fishing poles. Same thing within the incoming anchor text and outgoing anchor text. So the trick is to use a wide variety of entities. I'm not just using the best fishing poles over and over and over and over again. I'm using variances. I'm using synonyms. I'm using things that are just related to it, such as the word anglers is related to fishing poles because anglers is kind of enthusiast fishermen, essentially. And that is how I come up with it. So how do you come up with the entities, right? Well, you have two options. One, you could compile a list by hand, by going to, let's say, a Wikipedia page or looking at the Google results. And then you say, okay, well, this word is related, this word is related, this word related. What I prefer to use, though, is we developed a tool that uses Google's NLP, so Google's own word processing, to return the most popular entities for that term. So I created and use OnPage.ai to return the most relevant entities and even entities that the competitors might not be using. So essentially, the way it works is really simple. You put in your keyword, you hit and submit, and it's going to go out analyzing all the top pages and say, oh, well, these are the most used entities for this specific term, gives you a list of related entities. And then here's some entities that people might have missed that might be able to help you rank even higher than your competition. And these will be the extra entities. So this is how essentially I take that stuff and then I put it into the title. The H2 has to have a headline, the images, the words, and everything else, right? So very simple concept and very effective. But sometimes if you want to master it, you will really go in, and sometimes I spend like 5, 10, 20 minutes just coming up with the ideal title. This just goes along with it. You don't have to do that, but it goes deep. All right. So finally, we have the content, the structure, essentially, the page optimization. Finally, now we are talking about distributing and funneling power back to your content. So what do I mean by that? Well, once you create content, you're going to want to share it, especially if it's a flagship article, especially if it's really good. And I will share it on social media. I'm going to try to get traffic from Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. And ultimately, if it's a flagship article and it's not getting Chrome views, and Chrome views is going to probably be a ranking signal for Google, then it's probably not good enough and it's probably going to struggle to rank as a flagship article. Now, we're going to make a distinction between flagship articles and boring articles in just a second, but this is how I distribute my flagship articles. Now, it's crazy because on YouTube, it's widely accepted and acknowledged that if you want to rank on YouTube and do well, people need to watch your videos. You need to have high watch time and high click-through rate because those are the most important ranking factors for YouTube. But for some reason, when it comes to web pages, people still want to put crap and rank. So YouTube, it's this part of the algorithm has been widely accepted. But for web pages, it's almost the same thing. You want people to land on your content and to engage with it, and then you will do well. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that this doesn't apply to every single article, because if you have a page about nuts and bolts, it's likely not going to get shared on social media, right? Because people aren't going to be upvoting whatever a nuts and bolts page. But when they do look for that, when they do search for it on Google and they find a Google result, they should engage with it. So you want to have pages that are engaging. And that is why we're going to have a mix of popular pages and boring pages. So the popular pages attract links and the boring pages are just important. So a boring page could be a nuts and bolts page, and a popular page could be, look what you could do with nuts and bolts, right? Some really cool thing that you built with nuts and bolts can attract a whole bunch of links. So on every single website, you're probably going to have a mix of popular and boring articles. And this is how it essentially ties in together. You use the popular articles to attract the links, attract the people, and then you use internal links to funnel all that power to your boring pages that people don't want to link to or don't want to, people don't usually want to link to. And this will allow you to rank for those really big money terms and keep Google happy, keep your visitors happy. So here, but this is essentially the trick, and I'm going to put everything together in just a second. But also I do want to make a confession before we move on. I still seek out relevant links from existing external websites, especially links from seed websites. So sites that Google might have like whitelisted in being important. So let me kind of explain. I will still go out and network with other site owners. I will still pay for high profile placements on reputable websites. And I still provide guest post contributions on reputable industry websites because those could get me targeted brand new links. So even though I'm teaching or I'm showing you my way of doing things, which is more white hat, I also go dabble in the kind of like middle ground where you're like, okay, well, let me get a placement here just because I want to be transparent and I want the best for you, right? So I'm really giving you everything and I'm giving you the stuff that I do. So, you're on your own, you do everything at your own risk, but I'm showing you the way I work and I'm getting results. so that it is completely out there. All right, now let's kind of go back and put everything together, because I think this really ties in, and this is the new, in my opinion, way of ranking on Google. So the tricks these days are to achieve a really high engagement rate on your website. So if you're going to go in and you're starting a brand new website, start with one flagship article. If you already have a website and maybe it's been impacted by Google algorithms recently, then add a flagship and increase that overall website engagement. And if you're renovating stuff, aim for that engagement. Now, so have higher visitor engagement. Next, we want to have topically relevant content, which means in some cases, you might actually want to put some content on draft. If it's really irrelevant for the website, Google algorithm seems to be strongly rewarding topically aligned content. So topically relevant content is going to be stuff that I'm going to be adding. Now, I'm going to be adding both popular and boring content, and I'm going to optimize it using related entities. So that is very easy, and that's exactly what you want to do to take advantage of the Google algorithm. Just make it as relevant as possible by putting in a whole bunch of relevant entities. Then I'm going to power all of this up through internal links. Internal links are surprisingly almost just as effective as external links, as long as your pages have power. So what I will do is I'm going to have a whole bunch of popular articles and flagship articles. This gets all the power, and then I will funnel it to my boring article. My boring article might make me a lot of money, but it might not attract as many links as possible. So that's why I get all the stuff I get all the power to my popular articles and flagship, and then I funnel in through internal links. And finally, I try to get featured on major publications through either press releases or networking, which is essentially going to be help funnel links back to my flagship articles or even directly to my boring articles. So this is, in my opinion, the new way of ranking on Google this year. And this is how you survive and even thrive past these Google algorithm updates. So my name is Eric Lanchers. All my research is integrated into OnPage.ai. So if you're looking to get entities or writing, or you creating content, or even want to do links better, this could help you. So I strongly encourage you, hey, go check it out. And as always, my name is Eric Lanchers, and I'll talk to you soon.